Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about UBC application tips. So this is everything from the general application to the personal profile, and my friend Jeffrey, who is going into Sauder next year, will be coming in later this video to talk about the interview aspect as well. So keep watching, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get started. I'll be going into UBC Arts next year, so my tips will be generally catered towards that application. I know the questions change from faculty to faculty, so I hope you'll be able to pick up some value from this video. In other news, I finally decided on what UBC hoodie to get. My first tip is to do everything early because senior year will fly by, the months will pass by so quickly. If you can apply for early admission, I think the deadline's a couple months before regular admission, but it'll save you so many months of stress later on. I actually got my offer on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and I'm very glad I applied for early admission because I can have my full attention towards exams in April, May, and June. My second tip is to be diverse in your answers. So there's this one specific question that asks you about 5 activities or accomplishments that you pursue or have. And if you have a musical instrument on there, don't list 4 other musical instruments. Just be very diverse in your answers. For example, here are the 5 things that I put down. So the first one I did was Army Cadets. I did that one for a while, and that ties into community service. And the second one I did was marksmanship, which is air rifle shooting, and that ties into sports. The third one I did was Global Issues Club, which was a club I ran at school, and that ties into the leadership aspect. The fourth one is volunteering at my church, and that ties into a more musical aspect because I volunteered by playing piano. And finally, I did my blog and poetry, so that ties more into the creative/fine arts side. So as you can see, it's very diverse, and another tip is to not repeat examples in all of the questions and to use different activities. The third tip, Jeffrey and I both struggled with this one, is sending our personal profile out to too many people to edit and proofread. I would say just pick 2 or 3 people that you really trust and who aligns with your goals and what you want to go into, and have those people proofread your personal profile, or else you'll end up with like 4 different perspectives on one part and you don't really know which one to take. People you can ask to read your personal profile are your teachers, your counselors, people who are currently in the field that you want to go into, your mentors at your extracurriculars. If you want me to read it, I'll leave my Instagram down below. You can DM me and I'd be happy to help you out. Tip number 4 is to use unique points and also your strongest examples in those activities. The people reviewing your applications, they're probably seeing hundreds of student council or volleyball team or all these more general examples, so make sure that if you do use one of those, make sure you use your strongest example that you can find. So you may be wondering, how do I know if my example's strong? Always measure your examples by the impact they have. For my examples, I always look at what I did in this situation, if it was big enough to mention on my personal profile, and also what changed after the situation was resolved. So always follow up. My next tip is to put on activities that you've actually done for a long time. On your personal profile, it is not the place to put on an activity you did for 2 weeks back in grade 8. And also try to stick to activities that aren't one day long. If you volunteered for a one-day event, maybe you can use a specific example from that day for one of the questions, but don't put that on as one of your 5 things. For the last question, it says it's optional, and it's basically asking about how you've prepared yourself for what you want to study at UBC. Don't leave that blank. Please fill it out. Even if it's only 100 words, it'll make all the difference. So for me personally, I used AP English in that section because that was a course that really challenged me, and also I used dance because that was an elective that really propelled me out of my comfort zone. Notice that I used 2 very different examples there to seem more well-rounded. My last tip is to keep studying hard even after you've put in your application. Keep working hard even after you've gotten your admission. I've heard that for semester schools, your semester 2 interim grades, so the grades you receive in April, are the most important ones. So be sure to keep studying hard. Don't get unmotivated around that time because, yeah, you want to keep your spot, and I believe in you. Jeffrey will be taking over the next few tips to talk more about his tips for application and also the Sauder interview process.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back on the channel. For all of you that don't know me, my name is Jeffrey Low and I'm an incoming student at the UBC Sauder School of Business. To give some context about what the Sauder application is, there's two portions. The first portion is your standard UBC essays that come with all applications, and then the second portion is your Sauder interview. You're going to be given 2 questions and they're pre-recorded. You're going to be given a small amount of time to actually analyze and think of a creative answer for the question, and then another small time frame to answer the question, and everything is going to be live. Alright, my very first tip for the UBC application and the Sauder interview is to have a personal audit about yourself. This personal audit is basically a list of all your experiences that you've had in the past, whether it be your job, your extracurricular activities, your volunteer work, how you've been involved in the community or school. And this is very important. List everything out so that when you have your Sauder interview and applications coming up for essays, you have different experiences to draw from. Alright, tip number 2 is to draw different examples from your experiences. So now that you have your personal audit, make sure that when you're writing your essays and you're doing your Sauder interview, you're not picking to one example. For example, for myself, I was very involved in the student council, but I made sure that I wasn't just picking examples only from student council for all of my essays or interview questions. I picked a variety from my different extracurriculars, and this shows that you're a very well-rounded person with a diverse amount of experiences. Okay, tip number 3, dress to impress for your Sauder interview. When it comes to any professional situation, whether it be a regular interview or your Sauder interview, ensure that you're wearing professional attire. This is the first time that the Sauder recruiters are going to be seeing you, so make sure that you give the right impression to them. Alright, tip number 4, use the STAR method for answering essay questions and your UBC Sauder interview. When it comes to the essay questions, they're looking for a structured format for how you're going to answer. And we use STAR, so S for situation, T for task, A for action, and R for result. For situation, you're going to be talking about the context of what happened in your situation. For T for task, you're going to be talking about what was the task given to you at hand, and for A, it's going to be action. So what did you actually do in response to the situation? The result is going to be what did you accomplish, whether it be for yourself or for the situation or team. Tip number 5, and the most important tip that I have, is be genuine. When it comes down to your essay questions or Sauder interview, don't try to predict what you think they're gonna want to hear, but instead tell them what you have to say. Your own experiences and perspectives is what's gonna set you apart from everyone else. And this is quite apparent when the Sauder recruiters are going to be looking at your application and your interview.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this video helped you out. If you need any further help, be sure to reach out to either of us. We'd be really happy to help you out. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you soon.